Hello everyone. Our devotion today comes from Daniel chapter 6. It's one of the most well-known stories in all of the Bible. It's Daniel and the lion's den. I love this story. And in this story, what you see, there's four different groups, or four different characters in this passage. You have this group that we can term them as the troublemakers. They're the ones who get together and they don't want to see Daniel succeed. So they go as a group to the king and they say, "King, you know what? Why don't you make a law that for the next 30 days, everyone in the kingdom will have to bow down and worship you and proclaim that you are God." And the king says, "Well, that sounds like a pretty good idea." The only reason that they're doing this is because they know that Daniel will continue to pray to the God of heaven, his God, and they want to entrap him, and that's exactly what happens. So you see the character of these men. They are jealous, and they want to do away with Daniel. But then one of the characters here that I just love is the king. His name is Darius. He is the one who is setting up a new kingdom. The Medes and the Persians have come in. They've conquered the Babylonians. Now he's arranging a new flow chart on how his kingdom is going to work. And he looks at all of these individuals that he has and he says, "You know what, I like this Daniel. 83 years old, thereabouts," and he says, I want to put him at the top of the flow chart. I want him to run my kingdom. It'll be me, and then it will be Daniel, and then it'll be everyone else under him. And that's why everyone is jealous, because this old man from the old kingdom, the old Babylonian kingdom, this king wants to put in charge. But I love this king, because once he finds out that after making this law and he's going to throw someone into the lion's den if they don't fall down and worship him, well, Daniel doesn't worship the king. So he's brought in and he is put into the lion's den. But the king loves Daniel so much. And listen to these words. He says, "So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, 'May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you.'" And he says that with such a heart of compassion. He loves Daniel. And he's only known him for a short time, but he knows the character of Daniel. And he wants to encourage him. And the character of this man just is such a character of encouragement. And that's the message I think that I'd love for you to see from this passage, is just, if you are a man or a woman who the Lord has gifted you with encouragement, give that encouragement. There are many people who face the lion's den, many people who face the lion, and for you to be one who is an encourager is such a wonderful gift to have. So, well, you have these troublemakers. They're jealous. You have King Darius. He is an encourager. You have Daniel. Here's a man of integrity, who will not bow down to worship anyone other than the God of heaven. And we see that in this passage, as 3 times a day he would go into his room and he would pray toward Jerusalem. And his enemies knew that that's how they could catch him. But he continued to do this, even though it would mean his life, perhaps being thrown into the lion's den. And then the fourth one that we see here is God himself. And we see how he is sovereign and how he rules and he reigns. And because Daniel stands for the Lord, the last verse of this passage says, almost the last verse, it says, "The king Darius He says, for he is the living God. This is the king. After Daniel is rescued from the lion's den, for he is the living God, and he endures forever, and his kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. When you stand for the Lord, it impacts the lives of other people. And here, this king of the Medes and the Persians, this new ruler of Babylon, his life has been impacted by Daniel because Daniel stood for the Lord. Great passage there, Daniel chapter 6. You can see so much there. But the one thing I want you to see is King Darius, how he is such an encourager, and God calls us to be encouraged. Encourage one another. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 says, encourage one another, build each other up, and that's what we're called to do.